Hello, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President, Founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. So I have a question for you. I was recently in a class and I had some leadership there, some C-level leadership, some senior vice president level leadership. And one of the things that they espoused to me, one of the things that they were talking about is a concept of this new refined leadership strategy. That it was a revolutionary new way to lead companies. And I was just really interested because for as long as I can remember, for as far back as I can remember, I don't remember there being any severe changes to strategy regarding leadership. So the challenge was to try to find a full understanding or if there were negative consequences to what we call traditional leadership, right? So I guess it starts with the definition: what is traditional leadership? If you have an organization that's doing traditional leadership, oftentimes that means that the power comes from the top, that the leadership or executive team knows exactly what they want to do, that they are not necessarily building or empowering the people below to make critical decisions regarding what they're going to do, but they're giving them the authority and the tools necessary for them to make their visions come to life. So you might think about this person telling you what to do, setting up a strategic plan, and directing people who are working on the system to get it done. In this scenario of traditional leadership, they really don't rely on the brains of the people on the ground to fundamentally talk about what's necessary in order to make something successful. And maybe if they have a better idea or if they want to do things differently, a lot of times their voices aren't heard. So the easiest way for me to think of this is that if you ever went to business school, it doesn't matter which school of business you went to, but any business school, you'll find that one of the things they teach there is that's the responsibility of the leader to give information and to provide the what, and it's their responsibility to delegate the how. And I don't disagree with that, but I think that sometimes they don't take things into consideration thinking from the perspective of the consumer. Instead, they're thinking about how to run the machine perfectly, like how do we optimize what we're doing, or what steps do we take to reduce costs? That's a big one. Or how do we use our executive power to change what's happening, systemically, instead of how can we make this better for our end consumers? And fundamentally, it becomes a drive all based on output instead of outcome. They look at revenue as an outcome instead of looking at consumer awareness and consumer validity as an outcome. They don't measure social media sentiment or anything like that to try to figure out where they really are and what people think about their product or service. In addition, traditional leadership also systemically gives low levels of employee engagement, yields that, so that it starts to severely limit the productivity of the organization. Because if you're not constantly engaging and listening to ideas and building on what's happening, you'll quickly discover that your ideas aren't going to be something that the people want to continue to build because they feel like their voices aren't being heard. So I want to be clear. Traditional leadership is still leadership. It's just you're not being a servant leader. You're being a leader who is driven by the almighty dollar or by the almighty, hey, we have results that we need to get done. Let's crack the whip and make sure it happens, right? Now, many leaders who fall into this category are extremely successful, and many of them aren't necessarily, you know, uh, driving people to the point of exhaustion to get things done. They just have really, really high expectations, and they want to be certain that the expectations that they have are met at any cost. And I feel like that could be toxic in many ways, right? This new evolutionary or revolutionary leadership model that these leaders are talking to me about is providing the choice to evolve your capabilities so that you can evolve the organization. So you become part of the system of how things are being done, Now, a lot of people say, caution, red flag, flare in the air. That sounds like micromanagement to me, but please, that's not where I'm going. So hear me out for a minute. I think that if a leader understands that their role is to say, wait a second, I'm part of a big system of how things are done. I'm not the only person who does things. And they start showing up and start presenting behaviors and actions that help produce high value outcomes. Those outcomes are going to yield impact, and you're going to be a leader that everyone wants to be around. So it's a matter of creating this organizational or cultural shift where people can become more healthy functioning in there. We want to ask questions like, how do I unlock things that people are motivated about, that they're passionate about? What steps are we taking to move towards a healthier state for our product or service? And I think that sometimes when you turn off the separation, when you start engaging more, when you start empowering people more, you start seeing what you can really do inside of an organization and impact that you really have. And I think part of this has to do with how you model your leadership and what you try to do. I mean, not everyone is that servant leader who will give the shirt off their back for the rest of the people. I'm not telling you to go soft, right? But I'm also telling you not to be the tyrant. I mean, come on, who doesn't love walking down the hall and having everyone cower in fear when you walk down the hall? Because yeah, I'm being cynical, of course, but I think you get the idea, right? It's just you don't want to not be authoritative, but you also don't want to come across as the person who is so soft that you're not getting anything done because you can't even think of your own idea. You have no ownership of what's going on. I guess the best way to put it. And I think this all has to rely or do with focus. I think that one of the big charges that I give to leaders anytime I do an executive or a leadership summit, an executive leadership summit or an agile leadership summit, one of the things that I do with those leaders is I teach them that one of the number one things they can do is be focused. And that being focused isn't easy. It's hard. And and that sometimes focus requires us to dig a little deeper, right? Sometimes focus requires us to figure things out. And I feel like we come in with a set bias of some kind, and systemically we don't figure things out. We try to manipulate things to go in our favor, or we are manipulated by the system to try to think differently. And I think that you have to just come in with the right mindset. And if you come in with the right mindset, then it's easier. And I do believe that when you're going through trying to become the best leader you could possibly be, that evolutionary leadership involves you to be on a journey. It's not just a sprint, it's a marathon. That you have to figure out long term how you're going to be doing things and how that impact is going to have. Now, I've been doing a lot of studying on leadership 3.0, management 3.0, and what I've seen is that there are a lot of powerful tools and a lot of things out there that can help you be successful. But you have to be willing to immerse yourself as part of the culture and to become part of the ecosystem that's going to help your organization be successful. So I hope this was useful to you. As always, we encourage you to visit agiledad.com where you can learn more about this topic and others. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, be revolutionary. Take care.